Hello, my friends. My name is Gerdes, and this is the Daily Brief. So the fighting seems to have upticked overnight, over the last day or so. 1,030 Russians off the battlefield, 23 tanks, 47 armored vehicles, 57 vehicles and fuel tanks. And if you want to see where the fighting seems to be pretty intense, it looks like Chasiv Yar is at least one of the major focus points. Chasiv Yar is slowly being wiped from the map as Russian jets drop heavy guided bombs and flatten apartment blocks, and elite airborne assault units edge into the city's eastern outskirts. Ukrainian forces are exhausted, starved for artillery shells. Like, we have 1,000,000 coming from the Czech initiative, but they're not there yet. And because they're not there yet, they have to make do with a lot less, and it's rationing shells is problematic. Desperate for reinforcements and rotations, struggling to hold back Russia's offensive in several locations across the 12,000-kilometer front line. Not all of that front line is hot, but where it's hot, it's very hot. The battle for Chasiv Yar is a litmus test for both sides, according to Front Intelligence Insight. If Ukraine were to lose control of Chasiv Yar, it could have dire consequences, as it would provide direct route for the Russian army to advance toward key cities in Donbass, such as Kostianka and Kramatorsk. Now, it's not if Ukraine were to lose control of Chasiv Yar. I think it's a matter of time unless they get those shells and other materials into the fight quickly, and I don't think they're going to get them quickly enough, and it's a very painful thing to watch. That's why it's where the most intensive fighting is nowadays. I assume that in the next weeks there will be even bigger scale attempts to capture Chasiv Yar. A researcher at a Kyiv think tank told Radio Free Europe. So what are we looking at? Where is Chasiv Yar? Let's look at the deep state map, and this is 1 month ago, and you'll notice movement. Look at the movement, and you'll see where Chasiv Yar is, right? The movement's right here, Chasiv Yar is here, and they're not just like trying to enter the city. They're trying to destroy the city and then take it. Like, just level it to the ground and take it. Now, you want to see something else here. Here's Bakhmut. Remember Bakhmut? About a year ago, we were talking about Bakhmut, and all the conversation was about Bakhmut. Here's Chasiv Yar. It's just part of the progression. Okay, let's go to this. Politico, situation in the east has deteriorated significantly, Kyiv commander says. So just a paragraph here. The situation around the city of Chasiv Yar on the eastern front line is difficult and tense, with the area under constant fire, Ukraine has said. The city is 20 kilometers to the west of Bakhmut. So what I just showed you, that's really interesting. Hold on, before I go back to that, which Moscow took last May. It is right now April of 2024. Moscow took in May, not 11 months ago, Bakhmut. So let's look at the map. This was taken 11 months ago, and this is where they are now, and this is what they're trying to take. So they haven't made a huge progression, right? A year's worth of effort, and that's what they have. But that's what's going on the battlefield. Okay. Ukraine's air defenses are overwhelmed as Russia pounds power stations. So this is a summary of what happened over the last few days. And it seems like Russian strategy has been save up a number of drones and rockets, and then overwhelm the defenses, and then maybe have a few the next day to harass, but then a week or two later do the same thing again. And that's been a very successful strategy, especially because it appears that Ukrainian air defense artillery or air defense missiles or whatever, it is very low, and they're rationing it, and they can only fire from a few places. They're going around Kyiv because Kyiv is pretty defended, and they're hitting other places. And if they can turn the lights out, it's going to be a harder fight for the Ukrainians, and they know it. Okay, Ukraine launched a missile strike on occupied Luhansk, or Luhansk. I think you pronounce it with a G. Local media are reporting a strike on the location of a cluster of Russian vehicles near a machine building factory. So they did do this, and this is one of the few places where Ukraine was striking back last night. Here it is in RT. Ukraine strikes a machinery plant in Donbass, say the authorities. Ukrainian forces have launched several missiles at a machinery plant in the Russian city of Luhansk. In a statement on Saturday, the officials condemned what he called a yet another despicable attack on by Kyiv's forces on Russian civilian facilities. But how civilian facilities was this place? That's the real question. Okay, let's try to get a little bit more information. Here's Noel reports. Storm Shadow missile strikes are reported in occupied Luhansk and Luhansk engineering plant, which reportedly was used as a Russian base. That's a little different. It's not just a civilian center where they're just going after civilians. A little bit more, Euromaidan Press. The plant was used for, quote, repairing military equipment and housing Russian troops, unquote. So that's a military target by any measure. Okay. Finland will close its maritime checkpoints on its border with Russia starting April 15th. Now, Finland has closed the border with Russia, like the land border, multiple times. In fact, forcing the border to be only like one place, and then they open it, and then they closed it again, and now they're closing their maritime traffic. It's gotten worse for Russia here. Netherlands also pledges additional 1 billion euros in military support for Ukraine, and that's not nothing, and it's on top of what they've already pledged, so the extra support takes the total sum for this year to 3 billion euros. So that's pretty awesome. Meanwhile, on Russian state TV experts discuss Mike Johnson's meeting with Trump as the deciding factor in whether Ukraine will receive stalled U.S. funding. Referring to Mike Johnson on state TV, the host claimed him as theirs, just like Trump. That's maddening. I think, though, what's going to happen, this is my read of it, is they're going to call it a loan rather than a donation or grant or gift, and then they're going to make it happen. And they might be singing a very different tune in Russian state media fairly soon, or at least that's my hope. Trump is ready to provide aid as a loan, not a gift. He says Republicans could support this and is pressuring Europe to contribute more funding proportionately. Okay, again, if Trump is saying, sure, do it as a loan, and they can get behind that, get it out, just get the material to the front line as quickly as you can. Meanwhile, Volodymyr Zelensky, today is Ukraine's Defense and Industrial Complex Employees Day, which honors all those who organize, develop, and build Ukrainian strength. There are currently 500 defense enterprises in Ukraine. They employ nearly 300,000 people. This, in fact, is one of the primary pillars of our independence, he said, and frontline developments prove this. The ISW, Ukraine's ability to expand its domestic defense industry, is also crucial for reducing its dependence on Western aid, which they need to do. They need to build it as homegrown so that they don't have any problems with, like the United States saying, you can't use our weapons to attack Russia. Some of the homegrown defense that they created are pretty fantastic, like the Kazan E-620 is a Ukrainian-made bomber-class attack drone. This hexacopter, a 6-propeller drone, can drop munition or mines on targets multiple times. It can transport varied munitions at an altitude of 1,000 meters, a speed up to 72 kilometers per hour, range up to 12 kilometers. Soldiers say you can learn to operate the Kazan quite quickly. Okay, and that's a picture of the Kazan. It's a pretty significant menace on the battlefield. Okay, last little bit. Thanks to you and our partner countries, we're still able to defend ourselves and all of Europe, but we're suffering losses and we need more arms. You're right. The whole world is watching us, and by helping you, we show our strength and resolve to all authoritarian countries. Our soldiers won't have to die in another armed conflict in the future. What do you need? Modern weapons, long-range missiles, aircraft? Yes. And you'll get it. Just later. What? When? We haven't decided yet. And we're going to cut funding. That's pretty much the story. That's what it's been like for Ukraine. And Taiwan is watching. Xi is watching. What we do sends a significant message to the rest of the world. Okay, that's all that I have. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.